So one of the important thing you also need to understand as a marketer is that what is that you can offer to customers. So general view is that only two things can be marketed, or only two products can be marketed. One is the physical goods or the tangible products. The other side of this is, of course, the services. So these are the two most widely consumed marketing offerings, either product or a service. In fact, service is also defined as a product in marketing. It is just that it is an intangible product. But we don't take into account all the other aspects that can also be marketed that goes beyond your physical product and intangible product. So marketing, it's not just about marketing goods and services. There are a lot of other dimensions. And in fact, when we reflect our day-to-day life, right, we are also using so many other things that are beyond goods and services, right? So let's see. Let's first have a bird's view as to what can be marketed. So if you ask me a question, what can be marketed? My answer is anything can be marketed. So shawarma to Sunny Leone, anything can be marketed in the context of marketing. Now, when we say what can we market, when I say you can market shawarma, so shawarma is basically a product, right? But when we say Sunny Leone, you might be wondering what exactly is the Sunny Leone? Where does she fit in? Right. So let me first give you an option, then you tell me where does she fit in. Okay. So first, this is what we by and large consume to a large extent in our day-to-day routine life. Followed by this is the services, right? So this is the second most widely consumed product in our day-to-day life. But what is beyond this? The third category is something quite interesting and of late has become a great area of interest, not just for consumers, but also marketers. Experiences. So how experience can be marketed and what constitutes an experience is something which you have to learn. Then you also have events, and this is something which is you're quite familiar with because a lot of you are associated with this so-called events. What you are watching these days of late, an IPL, that is also an example of an event. So that can also be marketed. Persons can also be marketed. So that's an interesting aspect. Persons. Right? Technically, Sunny Leone is a celebrity. She is an influencer. So obviously, she will come under the category of persons. And then you also have places that can be marketed, properties, organizations, information. The last one is quite interesting. In fact, the last one is the base for all this. It is called the ideas. So these are the things that can be marketed. But let's go through all this one by one, starting with goods. Basically, when we say goods, goods in the context of business means inventory held by a business for sale. So when you go to a shop, the stock what he has kept for selling is referred to as goods. But in the context of marketing, goods means anything that can offer to customer, which is tangible in nature, which has the potential of satisfying his needs. So a tangible product capable of satisfying the need of the customer is what referred to as goods in the context of marketing, because in general business terms, goods means stock or inventory held by a business. But in marketing context, we slightly twist or slightly the perspective is different. So any tangible item which is capable of satisfying your needs is perceived to be goods. And when you reflect your day-to-day life, right from the moment you get up from your bed till you go to sleep, just outline the list of goods and services what you use. Let's make a list, right? So the moment you get up first thing in the morning, the first thing you see is your mobile phone. So when we say mobile phone, is that a goods or is it a service? The answer is a goods, right? So mobile phone is a product, tangible product. What do you do next? Why are you seeing your mobile phone? You want to see what happened, right? So what are the updates on Facebook, right? So you want to check your Facebook, you want to check the WhatsApp status, you want to check Instagram, some of us do also read the news. So you are availing or you're checking these applications, social media applications, whether it is Instagram, whether it is Facebook, whether it is WhatsApp, whether it is LinkedIn, or whether it is InShorts, news application. What are these things? Are these products or are these services? So Facebook is a service in marketing context. It is an intangible product, whereas your mobile phone is a tangible product. So this is what you do the moment you get up from your bed. So what's next? So next is that once you're done with reading all the stuff in your mobile phone, you venture into your washrooms, and then obviously you want to freshen up, for which you use personal and oral care products. So whether it is your toothbrush, whether it is your toothpaste, or whether it is your soap, shampoo, face wash, and other toiletries, what you use inside the washroom is a tangible product. So that constitutes your goods. So once you're done, next thing what you do is you wear clothes. And again, that is a tangible item. Then you head towards your dining table for the breakfast. So again, there, whether you're eating South Indian dishes like idli, dosa, or whether you're eating the Western food, whether it is Kellogg's or something else. So that is again goods. Then you log in, you open your MS Teams application, and then you attend online classes. What is that? That constitutes your services. When we see our routine, obviously it's a blend of both. So by and large, most of us do consume products and services. So products and services constitute a major chunk of the offering what we avail from the marketers, right? Now that's the other side, service, an intangible product. But from the marketing perspective, from the perspective of the marketer, what happens is, for marketer it is much easy to market goods. But on the other hand, marketing of services are extremely difficult. Now, the reason why I say that marketing of services is more challenging than goods, because in goods there is a tangible element, whereas in services by its nature itself, they are intangible. So marketing something which a customer cannot see, a customer cannot feel, a customer cannot touch, a customer cannot use, makes it extremely challenging on the part of the customer itself to buy that intangible product termed as service. So basically, service is defined as any act or performance that one party can offer to another party that is essentially intangible in nature, and that is what makes services quite challenging. And the last part says it does not result in ownership of anything. So that part also needs to be examined. When we do a comparison uh, in terms of how these services and goods are contributing to development of the economy, what do you think? India as an economy, where is our major part of GDP is coming from? Is it from goods or is it from services? There was a time when Indian economy was totally dependent on agriculture. But after globalization, after we embraced to globalization, the landscape has completely changed. Now almost 55 to 60% of our revenue or our GDP comes from services. So that gives you an idea as to how India has become a service-driven economy. Not just India, some of the big economies in the world are service-driven economies, which gives you an indication that actually we are using more services than goods. So when you look at United States, 79, almost 80% of their GDP comes from services. So basically, it's a service-driven economy. Where do we stand here? We are at the bottom of the table, but still, majority of chunk of our GDP is also derived from services. These kind of statistics will give you an idea as to what is that the people are consuming in the economy, right? So we are slowly becoming like America, a service-driven economy. On the other hand, you see China services component is slightly on the lower side because, China is the world's manufacturing hub, right? So that is where most of the goods are made. Then you also have manufacturing-driven economies in which Saudi Arabia stands out, and obviously because they are the largest producer of crude oil in the world, right? And then you also have other countries like UAE, right? Indonesia, China. So all these are countries where majority of the GDP gets derived from manufacturing of goods. Then you also have agrarian economies. So this is something which not every country is interested in, right? So country like us, even though we have transformed ourselves from an agriculture-driven economy to a services-driven economy, but still India's almost 17% part of GDP comes from agriculture, which makes it largest agricultural-based economies in the world, even though we are not deriving it, but still that 17% itself is a major number, right? So when we do an overall comparison, right, in the entire as a whole world, when we do a comparison as to majority of the GDP for the entire world is it's actually coming from services. So this actually gives you an idea as to how important services are and why it was not important 30 years back. For a simple reason that 30 years back, education was not given importance. One of the most important, widely used service in the current context, especially in a country like India, is education, which was not given importance 2 or 3 decades back. So more and more people are consuming more services than ever before, right? Some of the services which we could think in the Indian context, they were actually captive, right? For example, cooking. It was done in-house, done by us, our family members. But now you need our services of a cook, right? Babysitting. It was done within the house itself, but now that has also emerged as one of the important services. So this is how our lifestyle changes have actually made us use more services than goods, right? So I hope now you have a clarity as to what's the difference between goods and services and what are the elements which makes it difference. I'll just highlight on the last point before we could move on to the next component. I did mention that if you look at the definition of services, it says that services does not result in the ownership of anything. Now you need to understand and explain that statement. Why does services does not result in ownership? Because let's say I'm going to buy a bike. Even though I might not make complete payment because let's say I don't have sufficient money to buy the bike in cash. So what I do is I make 5,000 down payment, then I go for a loan and I pay an installment. Even though I have just made a down payment of 5,000, just an installment, immediately the transfer of ownership happens. So I get to register the bike in my name. I become the owner. But in case of services, you don't become the owner. By taking admission in St. Joseph's College to pursue the course what you are doing, whether it's BA, BSc or BCom or BBA, have you become the owner of the college? Do you own the college? I mean, you can say it's my college, obviously out of emotions, but technically you don't own anything. You don't own the class, you don't own the bench on which you sit, you don't own any resources of the college. You're just availing a service. Ownership is still with the service provider. The third element seems to be quite interesting because goods and services make sense now. I'm sure by now you have some idea as to what goods and services are. But how do you define an experience and what are the elements that goes into making of an experience? Because the concept of experience is not standard, right? I can define what is goods. There's a standard definition. There is a criteria. Service, I can easily define it. How would you define an experience? The definition of experience is quite difficult because for a simple reason that it means different thing for different people. For some of you, studying in St. Joseph's College itself might be a great experience of lifetime. But for some of you, it's like, yeah, I've just paid the fees and I'm just studying in this college. So it's just a service. I've paid for it. I'm availing the service. So what exactly constitutes an experience? In order to say this component or this, what I'm offering is an experience, what are the elements that should be involved in that? So the answer to this question is experience as a product is a combination of tangible elements, intangible elements, and some unique emotional concept that you have to trigger in the customer. So the third element is important. You have to trigger some unique emotional feeling, some unique feeling. Unless you don't trigger that some uniqueness, the feeling of uniqueness, the feeling of an extraordinary emotion, it can't be termed as an experience. So in our day-to-day routine, what can be an experience? Now, most of you, especially since people of your age, most of the youngsters like you, and not just youngsters, of course, people of other age group also, who love watching movies, What are some of the important component of watching a movie that can create a unique experience in? Max is perceived to be the highest standards of movie watching because IMAX is not just about sound, it is also about the most important aspect, the visuals, right? So IMAX has a very big screen, unlike your conventional cinema theaters, which either has 60 mm, 50 mm, or 70 mm screen. The size of an IMAX screen is almost equivalent to a 7-story building. IMAX is a Canadian company. It stands for image maximization. So they have their own equipment for filming, right? And their equipment provides unprecedented clarity in high definitions, right? Beyond 4K, right? 4K is uh, something which has now becoming popular these days, but this is beyond 4K. So most of the shooting that happens in space, what your astronauts do, they actually use IMAX cameras to do it because IMAX cameras capture image in a bigger format that no other cameras can do. So IMAX has developed a unique product capable of capturing image in large formats and projecting that image also in a very large format, which gives more immersive experience for the movie watcher. So IMAX is also a very good example of experience. By looking at the recent developments, definitely space tourism is going to be a reality now. And there are marketers who are pouring billions of rupees to make this concept into a reality because space tourism is so far an untouched segment. Because space is only for exploration, scientists go there, astronauts go there, they come back, that's it. But from the perspective of a common man, it's not explored. It's not explored as a product for a common man. And that's what some of these companies are actually in a race now. So whether it is Elon Musk, right, or whether it is Jeff Bezos, who owns the Amazon, or whether it is Richard Branson, who owns Virgin Group of companies. So recently his company did successfully do a test flight to space because the issue is that you can't go to space and come back the way you go in a flight and visit different places and come back. Going to space is altogether a different ball game because you have to escape from the gravity of Earth, right? For that, you need an extraordinary speed. For that extraordinary speed, you need an extraordinary vehicle, right? So I hope you remember some of the concepts what you study in physics, that to move out of Earth, you need to achieve the escape velocity, the speeds at which you can escape from the gravity of Earth. And that's what Virgin Galactic did recently. They did test flight. Their test flight was very successful. That means they have developed a shuttle or a plane which can go to space and come back. And this is a major milestone because now this will create a new platform for companies to establish hotels in the outer orbit of planet Earth. So wherein you go there in the space, right, whether it's a honeymoon, recreation, right, spend your time, come back. Would this be a unique experience? For sure, this itself, space tourism in itself is a unique experience.